My brother and I were told by our grandmother that her great-grandfather, Thomas White, was shipwrecked and eaten by cannibals. This is the story, carefully researched by my brother, and following the detailed account told by the chief mate, William Reney, who survived the ordeal. The line drawings are from the 3 illustrations in William Reney's account. And the watercolours are mostly by Susan Austen Veeder, the wife of the captain of the Nauticon, another South Sea whaler. The British southern whale fishery started from Britain in 1775 with the theft of 5 Nantucket whaling vessels, 4 of which were then deployed by British owners. It was a brutal business to light homes and businesses and lubricate machines at the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. It ended in 1859. Thomas White was born in Stromness, which had a strong maritime tradition. The men were well skilled in handling small boats as used to catch whales. Several whale boats were carried, hanging on each side of the vessel and upside down on the deck. In October 1833, Thomas set sail from London on the Corsair, a 370-ton bark built in Liverpool, for a whaling expedition to the South Seas. After a year's sailing, they took on provisions at the hospitable islands of Hawaii and Oahu. They then made sail towards the Kingsmill group. And on Christmas Day 1834 they sighted Byron's Island. They were visited by canoes who supplied them with coconuts. Sensing hostility, they sailed on. 2 weeks later, land was seen from the masthead to the east-northeast, probably Tahiti. As they steered towards the island, the captain soon reported that the water had changed colour and tried to veer the ship. But the ship beat upon the rocks. Fearing that the mast might go over the side and damage the boats, 4 boats were lowered. Owing to the great sea about the ship, they were compelled to lay on their oars for most of the night. The crew remaining on the ship cut away the mizzenmast, but the vessel was bilged and hope abandoned. Only 3 of the boats returned. The boat with the surgeon and 5 men did not return. The next day, the captain ordered 2 boats to go to a small sandy island about 4 miles away, to find a place to build a small vessel from a portion of the wreck. They found a suitable place, and the locals were not openly hostile. Returning to the wreck with the news, 4 boats were loaded up with the requisite for constructing a vessel, as well as the nautical instruments, provisions, clothing, tools, etc. And in the afternoon they proceeded to the little island. Within a mile of the sandy island, the captain and 6 men departed from the other 3 and rowed towards the larger island. They were never seen again. The contents of the 3 boats were landed, and the crew spent an anxious night with weapons by their side. In the morning, with no sign of the captain and 6 crew, they abandoned the plan to build another vessel. Instead, they would raise a wash-strake on each boat to enable passage over the Pacific Ocean. 2 boats went back to the wreck for the necessary materials and provisions, whilst Reney and his crew remained to guard the equipment already there. After 2 hours, 80 to 90 canoes were spotted bearing down on them. They launched the boat, trying not to look hostile, but they were attacked and a ferocious fight ensued. 1 man was nearly drowned by the attackers and Reney was badly injured. Amazed at the effects of the musketry, the enemy began to retire, enabling Reney and crew to escape back to the ship. They prepared the boats for departure, including bread, water and 2 planks in each boat to raise wash-strakes, and then set fire to the ship. Hotly followed by the hostile locals, the 3 boats sailed away on a voyage of 3,000 miles. They needed all their skills to stay afloat, taking down the sails in rough seas. They tried to keep the 3 boats together going northwest, using their 1 quadrant to guide them towards the latitude of Guam, so that if separated they could track due west even without a quadrant. After 3 weeks, the huge seas separated the 3 boats. With very little food and water, they sailed on separately, encountering sharks, dolphins, and using a raft of oars to keep a line. Amazingly, the 3 boats arrived, each on a separate island in the Ladrone group near Guam. Every man had survived. Even more amazingly, the 3 crews met up, reached Guam, and were hospitably received by the governor. The crew soon returned to England on passing whalers, but Reney needed time to recover from his injuries and returned 7 months later. Via Sydney, in the William Bryan, calling at Brazil to take on provisions. Thomas White may have been on the boat with the captain. As being a carpenter, he would have stayed on the ship the night of the wreck to remove the mizzenmast. So our ancestor could have been lost at sea, or killed and eaten if the tribes were cannibals, or even safely landed on an island, but he did not return home. In 1859, Edward Drake drilled the first oil well in Pennsylvania. And that same year, the last British whaler, Caroline, landed in Britain. And guess who celebrated?